basically gives the TheRaffy a giant target place of where to put in some infantry and troopers to give them great range and great damage potential, and just sit in the crag and just take down the towers. So, you know, it would be better if he built some of those guard towers forward next to the crag, next to that crag area, because sitting where they are, they're going to get outranged and destroyed. So here is a nice trooper attack in the back at a wind trap, taking it down very quickly. You can see that's definitely what troopers are good at. They are moving in and trying to get to march their way to the construction yard. I don't think there are quite enough troopers there to do it, and even Ordos Trikes will be able to eventually shoot them down. They do have very accurate fires, so as tough as the troopers are, they're definitely going to go down here. The TheRaffy is not going to do quite as much damage as he probably wanted to do, but it was nevertheless a moderately effective attack. Not a great exchange, only killing a couple buildings and losing quite a few troopers, which are 100 credits each, so that's not necessarily so good. I think he killed a wind trap in a refinery, so that'll slow down. You know, it'll sort of slow down the economy a little bit, spice refining, but you can basically, the reason why that one carryall is not being returned to the refinery yet, the one guy is sitting there, is because he is pinned in that refinery. You can see there is no actual way to get to it. So even unless he does an airlift command to actually tell that carryall to get in there, or does some other things, it's never going to get in there. So, you know, and there may be other bugs associated with that, but in general, yeah, you do have to be careful when you create really intricate shapes with your base and you try to tell somebody to move through a maze. That's a problem with any game as far as pathfinding goes. So, the TheRaffy building up a lot of quads. I don't see him throwing out a lot of infantry elsewhere on the board. Let's see what's going on down there. All right, here's some more troopers coming in, and I see Lunaticman with a ton of flak trikes, so he's definitely prepared to do some harvester harassment, some carryall harassment, but I don't see him quite engaging in it yet. Oh, the TheRaffy's losing some troopers to worms. Not really stopping his people, unfortunately, even though it's worm sign. And here comes Lunaticman making a similar mistake, driving over the sand to try and attack the troopers with his raiders. Raiders, again, against troopers, not really the best combination, because raiders are really so weak. So, oh, look out. Ah, so those troopers, looks like those troopers may, in fact, take, yeah, they do. They destroy that harvester, so Lunaticman wasn't watching that, unfortunately. He still is doing some scouting and trying to get some, looks like some rear flanking attacks on the base, but it looks like he's going to run straight into that whole group of quads, which he does, and they all retreat. So let's see what the TheRaffy is deciding to do with all these quads now. Looks like he is moving out a little bit, and he should be able to do fairly well against those guard turrets. They're not going to do a whole lot of damage to quads, and there are quite a few of them there. So he's also moving a few troopers up. If he can get those into the crags, he should do very well with them. And he's just driving right around. He is completely circling, going right around all of the defensive systems that Lunaticman has in the front of his base. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes straight for the construction yard now that he knows where he is as a result, where it is as a result of the last attack that he made. I am fairly certain that he got some troopers close enough to see where it was, but it looks like he's going straight into a bunch of cannon turrets, which are definitely going to take down a few of these quads, if not all of them. You can see they're popping them left and right. He may be able to take out one cannon turret there. Maybe. He's still working on it. Not quite. Oh, but here come the troopers. They're going to take down the cannon turrets pretty quickly. You can see they're doing extra damage with miniature grenades that they have. But perhaps unwisely, the TheRaffy has decided to tell those troopers to retreat, which they have done, but they retreated straight into some guard turrets, so he basically lost their capabilities right there. Should have kept them there and just kept firing on the cannon turrets, would have done more damage. Anyway, the TheRaffy, though, has put his troopers into the crags. That has given them enormous damage protection and much additional range, so he is able to both outrange and just basically he's basically able to defeat these guard towers pretty easily now. He will lose a couple of troopers, he's losing a few credits, but now you can see he's able to shoot at everything from a fair distance. These strikes are useless against troopers in the crags. Basically, what Lunaticman could use right here would be some rocket launchers, or any other, or even rocket turrets, anything with longer range that could get those things out of the crags. And if he's not able to do that, he should really just stay away. You really don't want to engage troopers inside crags unless you have an excellent counter for them, like Fremen warriors. But unfortunately, the Fremen are on the Raffy side this time. They are allied with the Harkonnen in whatever fantasy world this is, fantasy version of the original fantasy world of Dune this is. So the Fremen are fighting for the Harkonnen, and they are just going to wipe out any enemy troopers that they come across, but I don't believe that TheRaffy will be, that Lunaticman will be producing any. So the Fremen are just kind of there for flavor. I know TheRaffy likes to build them, and one thing to remember is that they do not do extra damage to buildings. So, and they are still very expensive. So here you can see they're doing, pretty well against regular units, just as well as troopers would do, except they are shorter ranged. So, they have a couple of disadvantages, which is basically, number one, they're very expensive. Number two, they're shorter range than regular troopers. And number three, they don't do the extra damage to buildings that most other foot units do. They do a lot of extra damage, a ton of extra damage to foot units, but they aren't great for frontal assaults. So this is one thing I disagree with, that TheRaffy's doing. This is a waste of credits right here. When you see a whole bunch of, even putting these Fremen in the crags, well, that's great, but they don't have a whole lot of range anyway, so they're going to have to move out of there to attack the buildings. And now they're just going to run straight into a bunch of guard turrets. So this is just, unfortunately, a waste of a lot of money, as long as these Fremen are allowed to just be shot at. And you can see they're not doing half as much damage to that high-tech factory as regular troopers would have. So those Fremen are gone, and even if it's only 3 squads or something, 3 squads of Fremen is 1,350 credits. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. So, you run those into some guard turrets and they're all dead. They didn't do a lot of damage in the first place. So it's up to the troopers. Looks like there's a little bit of quad fighting going on. Now we have Worm Sign. Since TheRaffy is allied with the Fremen, he does not have to worry about Worm Sign, at least for any unit other than his harvesters. Worms still always hate harvesters. But TheRaffy is able to just move across the sand at will now. He's not having any problems with the worms. Sending a bunch of, a few more Fremen, a few more troopers, a few more quads, just getting pretty balanced attack, working up here. I think TheRaffy should actually be doing a little bit more of some scouting to find out some other venues of attack, because right now he's still running straight into some defensive turrets of Lunaticmans and losing some money because of that. Lunaticman, on the other hand, he has a heck of a lot of refineries. He's got an awful lot of potential economic ability, and he probably even has more than TheRaffy. I didn't check to see how many refineries TheRaffy has, but unfortunately does not have a lot of production. I'm not sure exactly where most of his money went, but Lunaticman, GG's out. He knows he is defeated here. He's not going to be able to handle these assaults. So another good game by TheRaffy, doing things a little bit different, making sure that he's trying to simultaneously handle short and mid-range build orders to make sure he doesn't get rushed and also can survive a longer game. So that is it. Again, this is Jesse Drackbolt with Dune 2: The Golden Path.